It started on a quiet Tuesday morning. No meteor fell, no ancient prophecy came true, and no secret government experiment leaked, at least not that anyone admitted. One moment, the world was normal, and the next, pigeons on park benches were arguing about bread quality. At first, people thought it was a prank, viral marketing, maybe. Then the zoo animals joined in. A rhino in Berlin refused to come out of its enclosure unless someone apologized for calling it fat. A squirrel in Central Park gave a passionate TED-style speech on the unethical hoarding of acorns by chipmunks. The internet exploded. News stations scrambled to cover the chaos. Talk shows hosted parrots who recited Shakespeare. Elephants gave interviews about their emotional memories, bringing entire audiences to tears. Dolphins held a press conference via underwater microphones, demanding cleaner oceans and a reality show of their own. Suddenly, every creature had a voice and an opinion. Humanity realized it had a lot to answer for. Dogs were, as expected, overwhelmingly forgiving. They mostly wanted more belly rubs, fewer baths, and to know seriously why we always looked so sad when we left for work. Cats, on the other hand, revealed that their aloof behavior was a form of philosophical protest. You confuse attention with affection. One Persian cat explained on live TV, grooming herself mid-interview. But it wasn't just pets. Farm animals now had thoughts to share, and they weren't pleased. Chickens protested en masse, waving signs, held awkwardly with beaks and claws, reading existential rights and cluck you. Pigs declared themselves philosophers. One named Bertrand Snout wrote a best-selling book called The Sty Within, discussing the ethics of mud and consciousness. The meat industry collapsed within a month. Children rejoiced. Imagine a bedtime story read by your pet hamster. Schools scrambled to revise curricula. Biology textbooks needed rewriting, and ethics classes tripled in size. Students suddenly had to explain algebra to their class parrot. The parrot usually corrected them. In the wild, things got even weirder. Lions began holding pride meetings, where disputes were settled via roaring debates rather than claws. Birds started coordinating migration routes with air traffic controllers. Forest animals appointed spokescreatures to deal with human hikers, often requesting that they stop playing ukuleles by the riverside. Bears, surprisingly eloquent, requested more privacy and fewer GoPro videos of them fishing. There were challenges, of course. The sudden rise in animal podcasts made internet bandwidth a nightmare. A sloth-hosted show called Slow Reflections had millions of listeners, despite its 3-hour-long episodes where sometimes nothing happened except a single sigh. And raccoons became master negotiators, demanding pizza rights for nightly garbage raids in exchange for neighborhood watch duties. Some humans resisted. They claimed it was unnatural, that the world had flipped upside down. But most couldn't deny the shift. Empathy became impossible to ignore when a cow could look you in the eye and ask, in perfect English, "Do you know my daughter's name?" Governments created departments of interspecies relations. New laws protected the rights of all sentient beings. Some countries appointed animal representatives to parliament. A wise old tortoise from Kenya became a UN ambassador. His speeches were slow but deeply profound. War changed. Armies were hesitant to march through forests where owls could call out their every movement. Rats formed spy networks, selling intel to the highest bidder or just for cheese. Surveillance birds requested contracts and holidays. Even mosquitoes filed lawsuits against insecticide manufacturers, claiming chemical warfare and unfair representation in media. Humanity had to adapt. We learned to listen, to explain, to negotiate. We built translation networks not just for language, but for culture. We learned that whales composed operas that lasted weeks, and that bees danced in poetry. We discovered that ants had detailed city plans and long histories, written in the soil. The world had always been alive with voices, we just hadn't been able to hear them. A decade later, no one could imagine going back. Children grew up fluent in fox, conversational in cattle, and able to navigate the subtle sarcasm of seagull. Zoos became embassies. National parks became universities. Cities redesigned spaces to accommodate non-human traffic, deer crossings, pigeon plazas, fox libraries. In one quiet moment, an old man sat in his backyard, feeding breadcrumbs to a sparrow. The bird, wings fluttering gently, tilted its head and said, "You always fed me, even before we could speak. Why?" The man smiled, a tear in his eye, "Because kindness doesn't need words." The sparrow chirped, "But it's better with them." And the world agreed.